So I've got the old Hilux in the shop here and we're gonna be doing some tube work, which I'm pretty excited about. Got the rock sliders pretty much done. They just need to be welded up to the frame. We're also kind of working on a bumper here. I'm just in the design phase of all this, so I'll tell you kind of what I'm going for, what my plan is, and then we'll go ahead and build this thing. What I'm thinking is we're gonna have a tube that kind of follows this body line up on the box, and I wanna keep everything about 3/4 of an inch down from here, just so it's nice and protected. And then this is gonna come out almost to the width of the tire, which is about the same as the rock sliders. So that'll be a nice sleek look and give good side protection as well. Then it's gonna follow around here, come 90, and then it's just gonna drop down on this angle, which is about 8 degrees. And then we've got another 8-degree angle here, and then it's gonna tie into the hitch receiver, and then obviously same thing on the other side. So I've kind of just been mocking it up with these stands. We've got a 90 here, and then I actually think over here, I did a little 60-degree cheater bend last night, right here. If you don't know what a cheater is, basically you're just gonna bend a section of tube in your tube bender to the degree that you want. So in this case, this is 60 degrees. Or sorry, that's a 45. Here's a 60. Duh. Yeah, so what you're gonna wanna do is mark where your die is. So for me, what I like to do is mark right here on the die. And then that's gonna be your starting point. And then obviously you need to know how much tube you're gonna need extra to clamp down in the tube bender. And then every 10 degrees, just mark on the die with a different color, so that after you can go in and then every inch from your die mark, you can count out how much material you actually need to create the desired bend. In that case, it's 60 degrees. I've got one here for a 45, and then this one here is for a 90 that's mocked up. So I'll show you kind of what you can do is you can set it where you want it. And then you can have, say your 60 there, and then you'd measure from that die to that die line, and then you know your distance to each bend. So I need to decide how much I want, how close we want to get into the exhaust, all that stuff. So yeah, like I was saying earlier, it's probably gonna stick out about that far on the sides, and then the back rail is gonna be tucked in a little bit closer because it's gonna have that second bump out there. I'm just trying to keep it as tucked up as high as possible so that we still have good ground clearance and all that, but I also want pretty nice protection to protect all this nice aluminum work that I spent so much time on. Another thing I should probably check is just that, oh yeah, there'll be lots of room there. Yeah, that should look pretty sweet. So before I go too much further, I just wanted to say that I am by no means a professional fabricator, and I honestly have no idea what I'm really doing. I'm kind of just making everything up as I go and figuring it out, like I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably doing too. I've got really basic tools and basic knowledge, so we're just figuring it out as we go, and we're gonna try and do the best that we can. So yeah, next step is gonna be bolting up these frame brackets that I built. These are just gonna bolt to the frame here, and then I've got plates that I'm gonna weld onto the front side here, or I guess the back side, the back of the truck. And then from there, we're gonna start our tube that's gonna come back and tie in with the rest of the bumper. And then there's probably gonna be another tie-in over here to the sidebars that are gonna come back to this plate. So I'm just gonna get this bolted up right now. I'm also just putting washers on this side of the plate so that it spaces it off the frame just a little bit, so that when I weld everything, it doesn't get stuck to the frame as bad, because it's all gonna move and warp a little bit. So we're gonna try and limit that as much as we can anyway. So here's one of the plates. It's just 1/4 inch steel. That'll go up there like that, and then we'll be able to base all of our tube off of that. So I've got my tube all marked out now. We've got 3 3/4 to the die, and then we'll do our 60 here. And that's gonna take up 7 inches. And then from there, 10 1/4, and that's where we're gonna start our 90. Let's bend her up. Alrighty, 8. We might go in here and trim this to length as well, because that's kind of stopping us from being able to move forward a little bit, because I wanted this to be 2 inches off the back of the box. And as of right now, you can see, well, you might not be able to see, but we're sitting about 2.5 inches off. So once I trim that, we'll be able to move in that 1/2 inch and we'll be sitting perfect. So yeah, let's get that going. Check out this little Chinese bandsaw. This thing actually kind of rips. No pressure, just the weight of the saw. There it is. Just let the saw do the work. And that thing cuts perfectly square. It took a little bit of adjusting to get it to cut square, but it does now. Like this line back here was off a little bit. So I re-scribed, well, I just thickened up the scribe lines with a little file on each degree line, and then I scribed a mark where you actually need to line it up. Okay, I got this thing sitting happy. I like the way it looks. It's got good clearance to the exhaust. It's exactly what I wanted right there. 3.5 out, 2 inches out here. All of our marks hit perfect. So I'm happy with that. Now I just need to decide what I want to do moving forward, whether I want to tack this to the frame lightly in place or just go ahead and move on to the other side. So yeah, a little bit more thought on that, and then we'll carry on.